Stop scrolling. I need 5 seconds of your full attention because I'm about to ask you something that might change the way you see your own life. Imagine this with me. If life handed you a second chance, would you erase every mistake you've ever made, or would you dare to live the exact same life all over again? Honestly, you would be a strong clown. Anyway, this is the story of our hero. I just do not want to take much of your time. Just prove your presence in the comments and say that you subscribed and let us go. Our episode starts with Young, a corrupt judge who accepts bribes to the furthest degree you can imagine. He woke up in the morning saying, "Oh, opener, oh, all-knowing, oh, provider. How many lives will we destroy today?" Yes, really. And he belongs to his father-in-law, Tycoon, who has a large law firm, and Young works for him and handles all his cases. And he ruled innocence in them while dispensing with his principles and running wild among God's creation. Now we come to the year 2035 at the very beginning of the series events, while Young practiced his favorite sport, which was eating the rights of people. No, I am joking. He ran normally. Anyway, while he heard the new news that the state gathered all the homeless from the streets and allowed them to exist in my life at all, I always pick them. No, they exist in the tunnels underground. He returned to his home, and we saw his relationship with his wife was like two blind people, as if they married to settle a debt. No one spoke to the other, and everyone was in their own world. After that, he went down to go to his work and saw demonstrators demanding their rights from the Kdrama chemical company because it used chemicals in manufacturing above the permitted limit, and this caused all the workers a malignant disease in the blood. And these gatherings tensed him greatly because they reminded him of a painful memory when his father was in demonstrations against his company too. And because they dispersed these demonstrations, his father was injured with a very severe injury in his head. He stood watching these people from his office window and compared them to dogs. He went down because he had a hearing, and it was specific to the Kdrama company and the people who wanted compensation because of the diseases they were infected with. The one who filed this case from the beginning was a girl named Han, who was infected with the malignant disease too, and their financial state was difficult to the degree that she could not afford the treatment and lived with her grandmother. The public prosecutor started to speak and said that there were 24 employees other than her who were infected with this disease, and 9 of them had their lives ended. But the company lawyer objected. Yes, he sought help from one of the experts to determine if the chemicals they used in the company were opposite to the permitted ones. And then he showed him a paper proving that the error in the company did not exceed 1% even, and this did not cause diseases at all. And then Young ruled the innocence of the Kdrama company, not caring to pay compensations even. And then Han's grandmother got very angry and said to them, how was there no crime on them? So what about the poor girl who is lost from me? Whose responsibility is she? And as usual, Young was not interested and walked and left her talking to herself in the court. We found that her granddaughter bled from too much sadness for herself, and we knew that the Kdrama company agreed with the Heenan office to win the case. And so the reputation of the company would not be destroyed, and paid a simple amount like that as a bribe. Oh, of course, all for the company reputation. Of course. As I told you, Young was a corrupt judge, a corrupt son. He met the company owner himself and took an amount larger than his father-in-law took in exchange for him declaring the company innocent and not paying compensations to the people harmed by his company. And then the news reached Tycoon, and he quarreled with him on the phone because he wanted the Kdrama company to pay compensations, and he would drop the case for them completely. Young got angry from the way his father-in-law spoke to him, and it appeared that their treatment with each other was not the best thing, and he considered him his servant. He went down running in the street at his maximum speed, and when he reached his home, he discovered that Han, the sick child because of the Kdrama company, ended her life after his decision in the court today, so she would not be a burden on her grandmother, who worked gathering scrap and would not be able to afford her treatment expenses even. And the world rose and did not sit. Everyone testified on his injustice to those harmed by the company. Even his mother, who went specifically to offer condolences for Han and said to him, "My heart and my lord are angry at you. I raised you and taught you to be a judge so you would rule with justice, not with corruption." And we knew that he was not just a corrupt judge and bribed. No, my dear. What was hidden was greater. He was also a failed husband and a disobedient son. He did not leave anything from the evils of life without working on himself in it. No. And he developed also. He did not care for his mother except in his occasions only. The important thing is that his justification to his mother in his ruling was that he ruled with justice, and the evidence against the Kdrama company was not enough, but she did not believe him. She threw the blame all on herself and said to him, "I am the one who did not know how to raise you, you son of a harmful woman." And she walked and left him. After that, he discovered that she forgot her chest inhaler as she suffered from asthma and it was not possible to walk without it, so he went after her to give it to her. But he received a call from his father-in-law, so he ignored his mother and his lord and went to him at the office. His mother arrived at the funeral, and as soon as Han's grandmother saw her, she grabbed her by her throat and said to her, where was that ill-bred son of hers, and why she did not bring him with her, or she would have torn him apart with her teeth. She grabbed her and beat her, and the mother exited the funeral badly beaten and having an asthma attack, unable to breathe, and since young, ignored her and did not go to give her the inhaler. She suffocated and her life ended in the street, and they moved her to the hospital. At this time, Shin was the head of the Supreme Court and who was part of the corruption system and had very great influence. The special thing about him was that he played from under the table without touching anything in this corruption, and there was no evidence against him at all. He was meeting with the manager of S Construction Company and complaining to him about Jin, his detective, who raided him every little while and made his life hateful and emptied his safe firsthand. At the same moment, Shin picked up the phone and spoke to Tishol and asked him to make his dog take over the case of Company S. And when the manager of Company S asked Shin who his dog was, he told him that he meant Young because he executed orders only, and he threw some pennies to him like that to ensure his silence. After a while, Young arrived at his father-in-law's office to see what the talk was about with this S construction company. In the middle of his meeting with them, he received very many calls from an unknown number, and he did not agree to answer. After he finished with them, he discovered that these numbers were from the hospital to let him know that his mother was sick. When he reached the hospital with the inhaler in his hand, he found that the time had passed and her life ended already while she was shocked by him after she remained by his side until he became a substantial judge, and in the end, he was corrupt. She died with her heartbreak. Because of him, he took a vacation after the death of his mother, and when he would return from the vacation, they would transfer him to the Department of Crimes. At this time, Jin the detective was investigating the CEO of S Construction Company and telling him that if he took all the charges alone, he would be sentencing himself to spend his whole life in prison, and he should not think that his manager would help him. He was surely thinking now about the wood type of the coffin, actually, and that at the very least, he must think of his family. After a while, Jin knew that Young was transferred to the crimes department, and it was clear that the construction company was behind this matter. The company president went to his CEO and gave him a pill and asked him to take it, and they would take care of his family very well. He heard his words indeed and took the pill, and his life ended. Jin went to see who this corrupt judge was, who was assigned the construction company case, and she knew all his disasters and his playing from under the table. She also knew that his father was in a very expensive care home costing millions, but the one paying was Sun, his wife. She knew that he left his work every day at exactly, and she kept watching him and found him going to the care home for his father. Then she went to stick to him and introduced herself to him and told him that she would handle the construction company case. It was clear it was a dangerous case, to the degree that they appointed a specific judge for it. He did not reply to her and walked away. He went to the court and found all the journalists there wanting to take a word from him, and he did not speak. But Jin was behind him and said to him that he did not even feel curious to know who finished off the CEO, and that even if he ended his life himself, would he be able to acquit him, or she would go discuss this matter with Sun in the office. He got angry when she mentioned his wife and said to her, "Have you gone crazy? All you wish for is to imprison Tai, the head of the construction company." She said to him that she had a personal grudge against this man, and she also had recordings convicting him containing bribes and embezzlement in abundance. He took these recordings from her and said to her, "Your work is not honest," and he went to his office. Look who is talking about honesty. In the office, Kim, the head judge, came to him and invited him to lunch and tried to open a conversation with him to see the ruling in the other case, but he did not give him any attention at all. Kim went out from his place and made a call to someone and told him that the ruling was not ready yet and that he was very annoyed with him, but he was surprised that he submitted his resignation. Then his boss called his father-in-law and told him, "Your obedient dog submitted his resignation today." Young met his colleague Kim, who said to him, "Well, you didn't want to have lunch? Come, let's have dinner." He said to him, "What is it? Do you not know how to eat with anyone other than me? Am I your wife?" He told him that the Chief Justice was waiting for them. They went to him, and he told them that a researcher would leave his job, and one of them must take it quickly. He said to Young, "What a loss. If you had told me earlier, I would not have rushed and submitted my resignation." He said to him, "Are you stupid? Do you think they will accept this resignation of yours basically, and your father-in-law will agree so easily? This case is bigger than you imagine, and Jin is holding on to it with her hands and teeth, meaning without you, we will all hit a wall, and no one will judge the construction company except you." He left them and went to meet his father-in-law, who said to him, "What is this resignation that you submitted? Hold this. This is the final ruling in the construction case that you will rule with." He said to him, "I have been living for 10 years as a dog for your your office, and you are also coming now to force me to say a ruling on your mood? I want to work alone." His father-in-law said to him, "What is the problem if you kept working with us?" Then he surprised him and said to him that he would divorce his daughter. So Tishal's son replied and said to him, "Didn't I tell you, Dad? Dogs shouldn't taste money ever." He wanted to get up and give him a beating, but he controlled himself and told his father-in-law that his dealings with his office stopped right here, and that was enough for him. After that, he went to meet Sun, his wife, and she was busy agreeing with him if they would have one child or two, but he said to her, "I am telling you, you are eating my brain. Come on, let's get divorced." She said, "I swear it is not on your mood, my love. This divorce is on my mood. I am the one who decides when we get divorced or not." And she asked him not to return home until she permitted him to do so. It was clear that he was the oppressed party in the whole family generally, not just in his marriage. I do not know what got you into this mess. Anyway, then he went to a place to sit alone and talk nonsense and curse to himself. And a group of young men caught him and beat him up because they thought he was insulting them. He wore his glasses and kept laughing at the parallel world he lived in. He went to ride the train, but the sound of the train reminded him of all the people he wronged throughout the period of his judgment while he was a judge. And he remembered his mother's words to him when she knew of his corruption, and he kept crying. The next day, he went to Tae's trial and slapped him with 10 years in prison and a financial fine of 24 billion won, and the whole court was shocked by what their ears heard. This man paid a lot of money to get acquitted. After that, he received a call from his father-in-law saying to him, "Are you fooling around? What is this that our ears heard?" He said to him, "Let them appeal." The second call was from his wife. She was about to yell at him. He told her, "I sent you the divorce papers to the house," and he hung up in her face. After that, he went to visit his mother's grave and said to her, "I, for the first time in 10 years, ruled a just ruling based on the evidence." And he decided to go back to open his old law firm once again. And there a masked man came to him and attacked him until he lost consciousness. When he woke up, he was surprised that there was a corpse beside him, swimming in its blood. And this blood was on his clothes as well. Not just that, he held the crime weapon with his hand as if he was inviting the case to frame him. And he called Jin so she would save him quickly. She said to him, "Look who this corpse is." Actually, he searched his clothes and found his ID, and he turned out to be the same man who leaked the recordings to Jin on the flash drive. Then Jin asked him that they meet and that what was happening was surely revenge from Tae for the sentence he got. But Young did not agree to meet her. He said to her, "I will prove my innocence myself. Bye." And he tried to escape from the window in the back because the police were coming up to him from the door. He found the masked man in his face pointing at him, and they arrested him easily. Then he turned from a judge to a criminal accused in a murder crime. They investigated him, and the investigator then said to him, "Your fingerprints are on the weapon, and the bleeding is on your clothes. Go ahead and confess." He said to him that he was innocent, but he did not believe him. They sat him down to reenact the crime, and he also did not say anything except that he was not a criminal, and the matter was fabricated against him. Then his scandal became huge, and all people knew of the bribes and his disasters from the day he became a judge, and the news had no topic other than him. On the trial day, people kept throwing eggs at him, and he found himself accused suddenly, and his nerves snapped, and he kept screaming in the courtroom saying that he was innocent, but he fell into this miserable life of his. And it made matters worse when the wife of the murdered man came and said that he was in a relationship with Young, and there were bribes and money going back and forth between them. Even Sun testified falsely against him and said that he laundered money too. So he then felt for all the people he wronged and told his wife that false testimony was punishable by imprisonment for 5 years while he was crying. So she got tense and afraid, but she did not back down from her words. The trial ended, and he went to detention and met Kim, his friend there, who told him that his father was very tired and they would take good care of him. He left him a pill and asked him to finish himself off and not to worry about his father at all. But Young used his brain, as you cannot trick a trickster, and he took only half the pill. Then they moved him to a hospital and performed a stomach pump for him. He escaped from there while his physical health was still not the best thing, so he ran with difficulty, and the police turned the world upside down for him until he reached the place where the government gathered all the homeless. While he was walking among them, shocked by their condition that would make a disbeliever pity them, he bumped into the leg of one like that while walking and kept lashing out at him, saying, "Get away from me, I don't need this now." But he was surprised it was his father. When he got close to him, it turned out he was imagining it. He ran, but a masked man caught him with one knife stuck in his neck and finished him off. Young's life ended while he felt that it was unjust to die in this way before atoning for his sins. After that, he saw his mother. When he tried to go to her, he found himself tied by his neck with a chain like dogs, and the one holding this chain was his father-in-law. He saw Han, the innocent girl who hurt herself because of him, and because of his injustice to her. He saw that he was judging himself while he was the judge, and he confessed that he was guilty and a disobedient son too. Then he woke up finding himself in the court ruling in his first case ever while remembering everything. That happened normally. He started acting strangely in the hall. When he saw the perpetrator, he knew that he ruled. In this case before, with innocence. And after that, the perpetrator went out and committed crimes and ended the lives of many people. So he stood up to him and said, "Come here to me, you son of a harmful woman. I remember you, boy." Then he sentenced him to death while he was very happy and said to him, "I have wanted to give you this sentence for a long time." He thought himself in heaven or something. He entered the bathroom. He saw his face in the mirror and felt that his appearance became younger by about 10 years. He looked at his phone and discovered that they were in 2025, and he actually went back 10 years. He was very happy with his appearance until the head of the chamber came to him and slapped him on the back of his neck and said to him, "You sentenced the thief to death on whose authority is it? Because it is your first case you want to cause any controversy, and that is it." He left him and entered the bathroom while Young exited to see what was going on. He found Kim in his face and remembered what he did to his father and wanted to grab him and beat him up, but he remembered that they were still friends and he did not do anything, so he hugged him. After that, he went outside or did not know what he was supposed to do next and how he was living. So he called his mother and told her, "Do not forget to take the asthma inhaler with you everywhere, mother." But she still did not have asthma, basically. So she said to him, "Are you jinxing me or what? Just wait until I see you." After that, he went to flip through some files to make sure that he returned in time 10 years and that he would face the same problems that happened again. He decided that he would solve the case of the thief whom he sentenced to death first, and after that, see the rest of the cases. He would not rest until he got the thief the death sentence too, and he was caught red-handed. He remembered that he had a friend he cut ties with after he became his father-in-law's dog in his office named Suck, and said that they were now surely still friends. When he called him, he found him saying to him, "Welcome to our crazy judge. Your story is on every tongue. All people are saying your brain is sick because of the death sentence you issued on the poor thief boy." He said to him, "Shut up, you do not know anything. Tomorrow, you will see what this friend of yours will be. The important thing is I want you to find me selling used cars. I want to buy one for the sake of false showing off." They agreed to meet when he found him a nice car. After that, he went to the place where the thief was hiding a corpse in the refrigerator in his previous life. Before he entered, he stood talking to himself and said, "All people still do not know that at the time I sentenced him in the past to probation, he had ended the lives of 3 people, not just mere theft. Among them was a small child he kidnapped from the park while she was playing and ended her life." The sound of his thinking was interrupted by Park, the public prosecutor, and he told him that he wanted to enter this house now. He said to him, "Just like that? Easy," and he broke the window for him specifically so they could enter. But Young did not agree to enter from the window because this was a crime. So he said to Park, "Well, just enter and open the door for me before I report you." He entered the house from its door normally. Yes, our judge is an honest man now. He entered from the apartment door, straight to the refrigerator because he was supposed to find a corpse in it. Every time he opened one of the refrigerator doors, he kept screaming and giving us a seizure with him, and he scared Park normally. I wish after all this he found the corpse he made a fuss about. He did not find anything except some water bags in the refrigerator, but he found the tip of the thread and saw many bleach bottles thrown everywhere. So he said maybe there was another temporary place where he was hiding the corpse before he was arrested. He photographed the bleach bottles and kept going around with their picture to all the shops to know who the person was who bought all this quantity. He did not reach anything on the first day. He returned to the court and sentenced the thief to 1 year in prison and a fine also. Then he saw a girl standing at the back of the hall and she looked familiar to him, but he did not care. Then he went out and found many journalists waiting for a word from him. With all arrogance, he said to them, "It is normal, guys. I mean, it is my first case." He walked and left them while they were saying, "What is wrong with him? He acts as if he's the chief justice, not a new judge or something. Film him quickly. It seems he has a future." But at this time, he had seen the girl who looked familiar to him from the balcony while the thief was looking at her and laughing at her coldly. He remembered her then that in the future, she would be the girl who helped him in his crime because of his threat to her that he would finish off her grandmother and her nephew. Her name was Joe, and she was the one who hid the 3rd corpse for the thief in the refrigerator of her house. When he went down to go to her, they had left. He went to continue searching for who was buying the packs of bleach until a woman told him that the one buying this quantity from her every day was that woman over there. It turned out to be Joe, so he went after her to her house and said to her, "I know that he is threatening you, and you do not have another choice other than to listen to his words. But if you help us, we will help you too." He broke the door and entered to open the refrigerator. He found in it it. The body parts indeed. Then Joe collapsed and said to him, "You said that you would execute the death sentence on him, and I was happy then. Why did you go back on your word? Here he is now going to finish off my mother and my nephew. May God punish you." He told her that he let him go so he could arrest him and sentence him to death while he was a criminal, not just a thief, and that she must trust him. He had recruited his colleague at work to watch the thief for him and not let him out of his sight for a moment, because today he was supposed to commit a crime and finish off a 6-year-old child. But his colleague saw that his behaviors were normal and they would not go to arrest him because he was sitting eating chips in the playground. So when Young told him that his eye was on a child in the place to finish her off, his colleague started to notice his looks actually and knew the child who was the target. Before arresting him, he turned out to be running and he kept chasing him. Or maybe Young understood where he knew from that they set a trap for him until he remembered that he had installed a camera in the teddy bear to watch Joe with it, and that he surely saw him in the camera and knew that they were looking for him now. So he took Joe with him in the car while he was in contact with his colleague and knew the thief's location. He said to her, "Say with your loudest voice, 'I sentenced you, thief, to death.'" And as soon as she said that, the car passed in front of them and he saw the thief. Young hit him with his car and got out to make sure he was still alive, too, and asked for the ambulance for him. And all his crimes were revealed, whether the ones he did or the ones he intended to do. And Park was going to go crazy wondering where he knew all this from. When he asked him, he told him these were just expectations and a stroke of luck, not more. The next day, the Chief Justice kept thanking him and his cleverness. He said to him, "My mother and father gave birth to me, and you raised me, Chief." He said to him, "Stop bluffing now and listen to me. I have 2 pieces of news, one sweet and one bad. We start with the bad. You arrested the thief, yes, but you will not be able to sentence him because you are still a new judge. And the sweet news is that Director Bank was very happy with him and asked to meet him. When he went to meet him, he said to him, 'Ask and wish, oh, smartest judge we have.' He told him that he wanted to be the assistant judge in this case and follow the ruling on it himself. So he agreed. The judgment day came, and we knew that the thief would not be able to walk again because Young hit him with his car, and people were gloating to the max. And Young came, and the thief started recounting his crimes and saying that he ended the life of a girl who was 20 years old and an old woman. And before that, Young's destiny was to reach the victim's family members so they could attend the moment of sentencing him and heal their resentment. And after Young let him hear 2 harsh words about the ugliness of his actions, he sentenced him to death. He felt relief then because in his old life, he judged him wrongly and made Joe his partner in the crime because at that time he did not know the full truth. But now Joe had no guilt on her and the child was not hurt. And he freed himself from the guilt he was living with in his old life. As for the Heenan law office of his father-in-law, it was still in its beginning, and there entered it 12 cases and he lost them all, knock on wood. And now in the 13th case, and it belonged to Company S, whose manager was holding him and insulting him and asked him to adjust the situations and improve the level of lawyers he had, or he would regret it. He left him and went to his assistant Ewan and knew from him that Bake was a respectable Chief Justice and did not deal in bribes. At this time, Young was going to his mother to make her happy that he conducted a fair trial today. His mother was working in gathering scrap, and he kept helping her and asked her to take care of her health so she would not get tired. On the other hand, Bake was preparing a hard case for him to see his abilities in it. The case was about a young man who ended the life of his fiancée to take her insurance money and commit crimes. For example, recite hymns and walk in her funeral literally, because after his deed, he went to offer condolences. Her mother beat him up and told him that he was the one who did this to her daughter. Indeed, we knew that he had a tired shop like that, which did not bring in sums at all throughout the month, and this proved the charge against him more. But the perpetrator swore 100 oaths that he did not know about the insurance money. So Young decided to settle this controversy and go to the crime scene. He understood that at first it looked like an ordinary accident, but when any small child knows that the victim made 8 insurance policies for 12 billion won before this accident and no one would benefit from them except her fiancé, then surely he was the criminal. His thinking was interrupted by Yoon, a judicial reporter, but if she opened her mouth and started talking, she would not. Disconnect like a radio, oh uncle, really. The important thing is that she turned out to be the friend of the victim and was trying to get to know Young, but he said to her, "Disconnect a little. Do not give us a headache with you. Do you know the cousin of the victim, Kim?" She said to him, "Yes, I saw her several times with him." He said to her, "Cool, it seems we will agree. I want you to publish this case to the media and make it public opinion." She agreed. After that, he went to check on his family and saw with them grandmother Han and the child who got a malignant disease from work in the factory and ended her life. He felt very guilty towards her and kept apologizing to her and crying. When she asked him what was wrong, he told her, "I am crying because I made you tea without sugar. I also, believe me, am crying because he made me tea without mint." She is like that. Anyway, after that, he kept walking behind her and her granddaughter until he was was reassured about them, that they reached their home safely. He went to sleep and woke up the next day finding himself in his old room. From 10 years ago as he was, the date did not change. So he went down to make food for his family while he was happy that they were still with him. He brought them many vitamins so their health would remain good. After that, he sat reviewing the case while saying to himself that this criminal was acquitted in his previous life, and after 3 years, they knew he committed the accident, and his intention was to finish off his fiancée for the gold. He received a call from his boss at work telling him that the manager of the Heenan law firm wanted to marry him to his daughter. Be happy, man. And he was supposed to go meet her at 8 o'clock in a cafe. Then he remembered that the first time he went to see her, she was late on him for an hour on purpose and kept him waiting. So he decided to be late on her for 2 hours or send her a message saying he would be late more. But she lost interest and decided to leave. But she bumped into the waiter. Young caught her before she fell and became a spectacle. After that, he caught her and found her wanting to hit the waiter because he ruined her clothes and he could not pay her price. So Young defended him. When Sun asked him, "Who are you to intrude like this in everything?" he said to her, "I am the one you kept waiting for 2 hours." She slapped him with a slap that made him lose sensation in his teeth completely. He said to her, "I can file a lawsuit against you, and then you will bring talk to your family while you know there is a fuss about them these 2 days." She said to him, "What do you want from me?" He asked her to apologize to the waiter, and then there would be no lawsuit or anything. She agreed and apologized to the waiter. After that, Young flirted with her, and she walked and left him. From the next day, while the subject of the crime Young was handling turned the world upside down and was broadcast in the news, just like the slap he took was broadcast too. The judge had a scandal with bells on. The bells themselves came and sat with them and saw this slap. Park, his colleague in the office, went to him to tell him, "I just saw someone looking exactly like you just taking a slap from a woman." He said to him, "No, why look like me? It was actually me. My boss asked me to meet her, and I did not know how to refuse a request of his at all." After that, he went to the trial of the criminal and his boss, Baek, and Park attended it to see his integrity in the ruling. Honestly, he was waiting for them from the start, basically. After that, he heard the testimony of Kim, the cousin of the victim, who told him that she did not know the criminal except through her cousin, and no one knew about the insurance documents she had made. In this situation, he was supposed to be acquitted because there were no things convicting him. But Young used his brain and asked to search Kim's phone because she was the only person who knew about the insurance documents. The officer took the phone from her, but Young told her, "Do not play dumb. Bring out the phone that you make calls from." She said to him, "This has been lost from me for a long time." So Young rang it or made them hear a phone ringing in the courtroom, and everyone kept looking around themselves. No, Young knew where this ring was coming from. He said to her, "Go ahead, answer the phone without disturbance." She answered the call and found it was from Young, who said to her, "I am happy that I saw you lighting up the courtroom, my soul." He took the phone from her and opened it and found photos of her with the criminal, whom she said she did not see except a few times. The criminal was destroyed psychologically from the picture and asked for it to be removed to start talking. He said that he did not know his fiancée, basically, but he knew Kim and was in a relationship with her from the beginning. When she introduced him to the victim and they became friends and got closer to each other more, she told him that she was pregnant and they must have a wedding as soon as possible. When Kim knew all this, she collapsed and got tired, but the truth is, the victim was not pregnant or anything. She did that because she loved the criminal and wanted him with her. When he discovered her lies, he returned relations and stayed with Kim again, and they conspired against her. Then Young sentenced them to a fair ruling, satisfying all parties, especially that they all wronged themselves in this case. After that, Baek sent to him and told him that he had 2 cases he wanted him to judge, in them in another town, and he would stay there for a period. But Young refused and told him that he still did not have enough experience to let him handle big cases like that. His goal was to take down Shin, the head of the court. After that, he went to his office and received a call from Yoon asking for his help because her father was working in a place and they robbed him. He was at first not interested, but when he found it a crime linked to preventing a corrupt person from remaining a judge, he decided to listen with interest and go to her to help her. She went to save her dad before he died in their hands, and Young was watching her back. She threatened the security guys that she made a case and recorded all their words they said now. The security guard tried to take the phone from her and hit her and knocked her to the ground. At this moment, Young entered on them saying, "Ah, so that is why the line cut," or they knew he was on the line with her. He entered quite simply to retrieve her phone from them and yelled at them. Everyone was shocked by him and did not know what to do with him. When they asked him who he was, he told them he was a judge. He asked them to sit all and calm down so we could solve this problem. You, within half an hour, oh, bunch of clowns, committed 3 cases: kidnapping, property damage, and physical assault. These 3 cases piled on top of each other like that. If we investigated the maximum penalty for them, I will not tell you here how many years you will be in prison. No, I will tell you in the courtroom. Young took Yoon and her dad and let them walk safe. He called Suk his friend, who had taken his men, seizing a restaurant, and they finished the boiled meat stock from the market, the whole stock. And as soon as he saw Young in his face, he lifted him and spun him around and took him with him to work as a gorilla at store openings. And when he finished, he told him, "By the way, what reminded you of me?" He replied, "No, it's nothing. There is a crime that happened like this. We want the thing that was stolen without going back to the police. And I said no one would bring it to me except you." So he sent him one of his men to bring it to him. And he knew from him that what was stolen was a notebook containing names of heavyweights with their bribes. He said to him, "Okay, leave this matter to me. The important thing is that you don't be upset with me." He said to him, "No, my love. Honestly, upset about what?" And we knew that he was. Living in the past in a very poor family, and their biggest life wish was that their son would be a judge, to the degree that he stole. And when he grew up a little, S Company scammed its employees and refused to pay them their salaries. They held demonstrations, and among them was Young's father, because he had money due too. And they called some thugs to disperse these demonstrations. And among the thugs was Young. He saw his father taking a strong hit on his head before his eyes. And when the police came and gathered them all, Young's father was sentenced to a year and 6 months, and he could not speak or say anything, so no one would know he was among the thugs, and saw his father being beaten. He escaped since then, while holding on to his father and mother's dream to become a judge, and he was able to achieve it. After that, he saw Jin stopping Tae's car, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and arresting him on charges of tax evasion. He knew that she had been watching him for a long time, and the subject was personal. With her, not just a corrupt person she was trying to take down. She prepared him to interrogate him. She received a call from Gil, who was the chief prosecutor and now still an ordinary prosecutor, asking her to stop the investigation until the tax evasion documents arrived. And this dialogue spread greatly on the news, and Young felt that if he cooperated with Jin, they would do very good work and expose all the bribed ones. The next day he went to meet Suk to connect him with the one who stole the files. They took him and went to one of the gang members who stole the safe, named Kaji. He confessed from the first slap. He told them, "I took the money, but the files, I felt they were useless, so I threw them in the street. When they went to search in the place, he threw them in. They did not find anything. And this was because Grandmother Han, who worked in gathering scrap and paper, came and picked them up at the moment the papers were thrown and said, 'God honored me today.' And when by chance she saw the files and read what was in them, she went quickly to Young's mother and told her about them. So Young's mother called him and told him about the files. He said to her, 'Oh mother, I am turning the world upside down for them, me and Suk's gang.' He asked her to keep the subject a secret between them. He went to take them from her and held a conference promising them that he would reveal the biggest corruption network in the country. After that, he called Yoon, and she said to him, 'I was just going to call you to tell you that the minor who accused my father of theft did not report it,' basically. He said to her, 'This is something strange. Indeed, I am coming to meet you now. Send me the address of the cafe you are in.' Then he went to get in his car and found a masked man attacking him. He was able to distinguish that he was the same person who attacked him in his previous life and ended his life. He said to him, 'Come to me. Your day is not passing today.' They kept hitting each other, but Young escaped from him because he was not into these conflicts, and before he ended his life once again in the new life before fixing the rest of the disasters. After that, he went to meet Yoon and show her the files of the people who took forged medical certificates from the director of Hankook Hospital to get out of the army. Of course, news does not hide in this country, and the gang bunch drawn in suits knew that the owner of the scrapyard was Young's mother, and that surely the files reached him. So Shin's assistant went to meet him and offered him to become a chief judge in Seoul Court, and he would cover everything regarding his expenses, and of course all this in exchange for returning to them the military service evasion files that had all their names. But Young refused and told him, "If I want to go to Seoul Court, I will do so from tomorrow morning. I will not wait for you to tell me anything." Then he threatened him and said to him, "Tomorrow you will regret it." Beautiful. Young left him and went to Bake and handed him these files and turned on the TV for him to show him a jewelry theft crime amounting to 2 billion won that happened from a hospital director, and suspects surrendered themselves to the police and said they used to frequent the house a lot. Bake saw the files and asked him why he brought them specifically to him. He said to him, "I know they will be safe with you." And after that, he went and exposed everyone whose name was mentioned in these files publicly with the broadcasters, and the playground caught fire. After he did that, he went to Shin's assistant again and said to him, "You are officially crazy. No one does this." He said to him, "I was executing Bake's orders and did not do anything from my head. Anyone who wants to take his right, let him go to him then. And if they are men, let them speak to him." At this time, Shin was at his boss's place, who was tearing him apart with insults, frankly reminding him of his upbringing, and said to him, "Go, you ill-bred person." And these two words hurt his psyche greatly, and he remained sitting sad in the office remembering his his words and thinking how he would get revenge until when his assistant came to him and told him Young handed the notebooks to Bake and then went out and exposed the names in them. So Shin said to him, then he wants a benefit from Bake to open a way for his work. Done. We will take revenge on Bake and make him grieve for his life, and we will send a thin warning like that to Young. And they sent him the masked boy on a motorcycle to do moves to hurt him with, but he did not know how, and the one who got hurt was his manager. And Young understood the warning, coming to him and transferred his manager to the hospital to check on him. And there he received a call from Shin to meet him, and he went to him indeed while saying to himself, come to me, you scoundrel. In my previous life, you finished me off without even seeing me, and now you want to sit with me at one table? I will paralyze one. And he remembered that in his previous life, he saw him on TV gaining people's sympathy towards him by saying that he was poor and did not live his life and stuff. So Young decided to play the same game on him and say to him, I was raised in a poor family and we could not find food to eat. And every time I and my friends passed by a library, my friends used to race on what they would buy. And I used to stand watching anything as I did not have money to buy a weak pen battery even. So he said to him, Shin, enough. I heard your tragic life story. I am coming to you in a matter now, and I want you to take down a member of the council who will be confirmed as Minister of Justice in 2 days. And this person was the same boss of Shin, and he wanted him not to be confirmed because of his insult to him. After that, a call came to Shin from someone yelling at him because he issued an arrest warrant for Tae, and that talk would increase about him because of his conscription scandal too. But Shin was able to fool him with his words and silence him because he wanted to wrest his brain from the monster. But in this moment, Young was connecting events together in his head from behind this call. And the next day, Tae's trial was running because of tax evasion that Jin confronted him with, and in which, of course, he denied everything, and they released him for lack of evidence. But when they summoned him, he must come after that. And Jin insulted him because of what he said, and he walked and left her after he wanted to grab her throat, and his men held him back. She went after that to visit her father, who was in the hospital, and we knew that he was working with Tae in his company, and these were the personal reasons she wanted to imprison Tae for. On the other hand, Suk was going to secure the life of the hospital director who brought out the evasion records from conscription. But as soon as he arrived, he found that someone strangled him in his car and wrote a letter so it would appear that he hurt himself and went up and threw him from the last floor in the hospital, and his life ended. And since then, the world rose and did not sit, and Young confirmed that the one behind the dialogue was Shin. He called Suk his friend and told him to watch the parliament member who he knew was confirmed and took the position of Minister of Justice. And after that, we found that everyone whose names Young said started to be arrested one after the other to be subjected to legal trial because of their escape from performing military service and forgery. And Bak was requested to rule in this case himself in Seoul, and he refused to go alone and took Young and his boss with him. When Shin knew, he rejoiced because he thought he was coming to execute the mission he assigned him with, which was to keep his boss away from becoming Minister of Justice. At this time, Young was on his way, deciding that he would start with Tishol and his law firm, and saying that in his previous life, he lived as a dog for him. But in his life now, he would show him the stars. In the middle of the day, he went to him at the office and proposed to him to appoint Ohm, the public prosecutor, as a lawyer with him in the office. He did not catch up to take and give with him in talk because the rabid son entered, and she believed she saw Young after the last meeting between them and snatched him from in front of Tishol and went to sit with him in her office alone and proposed marriage to him. And he was surprised that she talked very much, and this was something opposite to her nature in his previous life. Well, you kept her mouth shut and frowned at her all the time. He did not reply to her marriage offer, but told her that to employ Prosecutor Ohm in their office, he would need her help. He left her and went to the court and met Jin there. As soon as he saw her, he waved to her and called her with a loud voice, but he realized that he still did not know her basically in his new life, and the cat ate his tongue. So Jin said to him, "Who are you, man? And why are you calling me?" Suddenly Kim appeared behind her, and he believed it and went to him running while saying to him, "Come here, you saved me." Jin stood not understanding what was happening and came to her a call from her boss. She went to his office and found him asking her to have nothing to do with Tae again, as long as she did not have evidence. She said to him, "I sure will not come near him again unless I have the evidence in my hand to ensure I send him behind the sun." On the other hand, Young was at Shin's, in the office, winning his affection and saying that he would take down the Minister of Justice via public prosecutor Aum. And this was because he held dirt on Aum because of his loose-lost son who lived abroad and was an addict. And his daughter was an addict too, but she lived here normally. And the only problem was that Aum was not in Young's hand, and Shin was able to exploit this point and asked him to hand over Aum. Then Shin agreed and told him that he would help him to enter the Heenan law firm. Young went out of the office and his boss saw him and wondered what he was doing like this from the start. He was about to speak to ask him, but Beck called him. He went and found Young there, handing him the Namyun sinkhole case, which was a landslide because disasters happened and many people's lives ended there. The government now wanted to know if this hole was a natural disaster or a failure on their part and could have been avoided, especially after the accident that happened. And a young man fell victim to it in his car. And after that, a bus and cars entered the accident and it was a huge mess. Then Young agreed to this case, even though it was not easy at all. He had agreed with Suk to take not so good photos of the Minister of Justice's daughter in suspicious places. Yes, he sent them to and told him this was the minister's daughter and none of us chose our children. Brother, of course, it was clear he was throwing it at him regarding his addict children and threatening him with them and asked to meet him. He agreed and went to Young with Sun's older sister, who was the one handling everything in the office at the current time. They sat talking to him while he showed fear of the scandal. They offered him to work with them in the Heenan office. He agreed, of course, after the threat. After that, Young promised Sun's older sister that he would help her take over the Heenan office for herself. He left her and returned home and met his family, Han and her grandmother, and remembered her look when she was sick. He arranged a job for her in a store with his friend Suk with hours that suited her studies, so she would not be forced to work in a place that caused her diseases again, like what happened in her previous life. The next day, people were gathered at the hole where the accident happened, and the young man's father refused to give up his son's right at all. This case was going back to the Heenan office. As soon as Sun's sister knew that Young was the judge handling the case, she rejoiced and her eyes shined, and she called Sun and told her, "Move it now and entrap the judge. Let us win a case on our own," she said to her. "Cool," and went to Young at the court and said to him, "Do not think I came to you specifically. No, I am finishing papers here. But generally you told me that we would meet again." "When? Huh? When?" he replied to her. "Next time I will tell you." But she grabbed him and said to him, "I will not leave until I set a date with you now. Or I say do not set one. Let us go have dinner together." And in a second, Yoon entered and said to him, "It is good I caught you. We can barely make it to have dinner together. Let's go." So she said to her, "Son, hold on. Where are you going, my love? Do you not see me booking him?" "Yoon, I did not know you had appointments. I did not notice." But he shut Sun down and said to her, "What appointments?" "She wants a work benefit from me, just normal." When Yoon knew she belonged to the Heenan office, she got annoyed because it was known that the office responsible for the case and the judge were dealing with each other meant there was corruption in the matter. He went out after her and knew from her a new problem, which was that the father of the young man whose life ended because of the hole, the district head sent people to threaten him to settle the matter among themselves. Without there being a case or anything, Young sent them his friend Suk, who whenever he got stuck in something, he would go finish it for him with one phone call. He caught the man threatening them and crushed him with beating. He waited for the district head to come to beat him up too with them, but he did not arrive. They chased Young with his car until he crashed into an accident. After that, he dug a hole for him and threw him in it and let the young man's father see this with his own eyes to heal his resentment and take revenge and execute the death sentence on him. Before Young threw the big brick on him, the young man's father stopped him while collapsing and asked him to leave him. When Young asked him, "Will you not regret this?" he said to him, "Even if we buried him here alive, we will not benefit anything. I want him punished." So he decided to release him and work himself on his trial. He went with Suk and had dinner together. When he asked him, "How is Han doing with you?" he said to him, "She is tiring me. She wants to work all day, not in the hours set for her. She acts as if she is the shop owner." So Young went to her himself to convince her of morning work hours so she would not go home at night alone, but she told him that Suk drove her every day. He said to her, "Suk is off today. I will drive you myself." When they reached her house, she told him that her grandmother left the light on every day because she was afraid to sit in the dark and the street lamp was broken. He called Suk and said to him, "Get me a ladder and a bulb quickly," and he fixed the street lamp. Han rejoiced at this very much, she and her grandmother. The next day, Suk sent him a guy with the new car he had asked from him, and he liked it very much. At this time, Shin was searching behind Young and knew that his father was the one imprisoned because of Company S, and Shin was the assistant judge at that time in this case. After that, he went to meet Young to verify his loyalty to him and know if he would tell him or not. He, of course, caught him from the first moment he opened his mouth. So he said to him, "Yes, there was a case for my father regarding Company S, so I could resist the demolition workers, but this is all from the past already." So he relaxed then and left him and walked. His boss at work saw them together again and started to get suspicious towards him. He went to Bank and told him, "A mouse is playing in my pocket regarding this Young. I saw him twice until now with Shin, and it is clear there are interests between them." But Bank trusted Young with blind trust and said that he surely had his reasons. The next day was the trial of the sinkhole, and Young attended it, and Sun's sister, the lawyer of Heenan Company, whom Young could not stand because she made it personal with him and told him, "You will not write rulings from your head. You refer to me first, and I will tell you what to rule with." He kept picking on her with every word she said until until he made her hate the trial. She left and talked to Tishol and told him, "Everything is under control, Pasha. Do not worry. It was under Young's control generally, but we did not want to say. The important thing is that the father of the young man whose life ended in the hole, no one left him alone. Every little while, thugs were sent to him to give them money, and they would drop the case. But the young man's father refused completely until Young knew and told him, when they come to you again, agree to the settlement and take the amount you want. Everything will appear in the court." After that, they offered 100 million won, and he agreed and signed a paper for them, and they left. At this time, Young was with Park and got to know Jin for the first time in his new life, and Young kept being silly to her to the degree that she left him and walked away. A threat paper fell from her, and Young saw it and knew that it was sent to her from Tae. So he told her that he was also pursuing him and wanted to imprison him like he imprisoned his son before. At that moment, Jin got interested in his words. Maybe they would become one hand and get rid of this epidemic. But also, she still saw that he was a dangerous man, and she must take her caution from him. After that, he walked. She went to eat raw liver, thinking herself Ahmed El Al-Awadi. And Tae was sitting watching her and said to her, "I need to fear you like this. You look terrifying, honestly." She took out the paper and tore it in front of him and told him, "I wished for a stronger threat than this, because this is nothing to me." So he walked and left her, while she was throwing up what was in her stomach because she wanted to act dangerous and stuff, but in front of him, just not more. She was not into anything. On the other hand, Young was working gathering evidence on this hole owner. Yoon was helping him by going around to people and gathering statements from them about the accident. Young presented it all in the courtroom and added to them a video also of them beating the neighborhood residents just to accept the settlement. And then Young postponed the trial and asked for a criminal investigation to apply the maximum penalty. The Heenan office was all on fire because of what was going on. Tishol grabbed his big daughter and kept tearing her apart with insults because she did not develop well behind them. Sun entered on them while she was, dragging Young in her hand. As soon as Tishol saw him, he said to him, "What is this mess you made in the court?" He said to him, "Oh, stupid, stay aware like this. If I had given him the acquittal from the first session, people would have doubted my integrity and my relationship with you. The municipal fund bribery file is still coming out, and the playground will catch fire." After that, he took Sun and they went to eat at a tripe cart in the street. At this time, the whole owner was planning to escape on a ship at the end of the day, thinking that no one would know. But no, Suk was awake to him very well. He called Young to let him know. So he took his car and went to him quickly and found a masked man there, trying to finish off the whole owner. Young clashed with him and the masked man stabbed him. But Young was wearing protection and said to him, "I tricked you. I didn't die." They continued fighting until Suk entered and gave him a hit with one hand that made him lose consciousness. He said to him, "Didn't I tell you 1,000,000 times not to fight without me because I get jealous?" He said to him, "Oh man, this is not the time or anything. Let's leave. The room has a corpse and we will be framed for it." Young had stolen a file from the whole owner's phone containing disasters and catastrophes. That would send the biggest shot to hell. He sent it to Park before he left. He went immediately to issue a search warrant for the office of a member in the parliament and told his secretary, "Tell him also that I will issue an arrest warrant, not just search." When Shin knew what happened, he grabbed the masked man, meaning he beat him up so much he didn't leave a sound spot. After that, he treated him and said to him, "Come on, stand on your feet because I have work for him," which is how tender, oh my eyes. After that, the dialogue of the addict sons of the Minister of Justice was revealed. He justified this by saying they had depression and bad friends were the ones who dragged them to vice. But they are innocent, course. And when the journalists asked him to submit medical files proving they were suffering from depression, he refused and told them these were family secrets. Shame, meaning at this time, his daughter was arrested on charges of drug abuse, and he did not feel anything basically, and knew from social media. He kept ringing Shin to save him, but he was the one who planned all this basically, and he did not answer him. He thanked Young for his efforts, and when he asked him why he insisted on taking him down, he told him that he treated people like garbage and considered them insects, and someone like him should not be a minister of justice. How come basically? He wanted Shin to reward him, so he told him, "Ask and wish." He said to him, "I want to arrest Judge Huang, who imprisoned my father in the past, and take revenge on him." They went to sit in a place, and Shin told him his life story from when he was 10 years old. Oh, patience and his long endurance, really. He told him that he was living in an orphanage and escaped from it. The owner of the restaurant they were sitting in right now saw him and took him with her to a women's dormitory. He worked as a servant there in exchange for a bite and could sleep in it. He told him that he doubted in his place indeed, and purified Company S, which is Tae, was cooking it up with Huang to imprison his father and pin the night on him. But he would wait until they changed the Chief Justice, and then he would throw Huang in his court to do what he wanted with him. At this time, his colleague Park was going to arrest a parliament member whom Shin had already beaten him to and sent a masked man to end his life. He kept waiting for Park to finish him off too, but he pretended dead, leaving the masked man thinking he finished his mission. When he went to Young to check on him, he showed his neck and said to him, "They wanted to finish me off, the sons of a harmful woman. I will not be silent." He entered to find that the parliament member's life ended. He asked Park to report what happened without mentioning him, because he was the one who sent him the files and did not want the picture to be on him now. And of course, with the end of the parliament member's life like this, the whole owner would be framed for all his disasters, and he would come out of it clean, because the dead do not speak. So then Young told him about the investigation link he reached after all this running around, which was that the company that caused this hole was his own company, and that he was the one who sent his men to blackmail the family of the young man, the victim whose life ended in the hole, and made them sign a settlement and paid them 100 million won to buy their silence. So the whole owner said, "I did not see it like that at all. Really, I will apologize to them from all my heart and increase the settlement amount too." But Young told him, "No, do not act, because I am the director. Like this, the noose will be wrapped around your neck and justice will be achieved. We could have achieved it a long time ago, but the victim's father insisted that it be achieved in the courtroom. So let us meet there then." The final trial day came, and Park, the public prosecutor, asked for 10 years prison and a fine of 5 billion won, and it was approved, and everyone rested, and the most important of them were the victims' families, of course. After this commotion ended, Shin went to the one who was going to be Minister of Justice, but couldn't because of his poor upbringing of his children to take his right from him now, and he did with him exactly the same as he did. He kept sticking the pen in his heart and saying to him, "After this, you will be by a signal from my fingers. A signal takes you, and a signal brings you. You shamed me for my upbringing. Look at your upbringing now, how it is and what it did to you." He left him and walked and made a call saying in it that he wanted to take down the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and immediately articles spread like crazy about the chief of the court from people demanding his dismissal. He called Young and told him that he wanted him because they would go meet Wang. He made him sit in a room alone to hear them from it. Shin asked Wang to nominate himself as chief of the court. He agreed because his trust in him was great, and he thought he would be standing behind him. He did not know, of course, that he would hand him to Young to mess him up. After that, Young went to meet Baek and his manager. They told him that they saw him several times with Shik, and this was known to be a man whose reputation was, God forgive me, not the best thing. Excuse me, the correction is his name is Shin first. Anyway, they continued talking. "Since then, you have a car and work like a rocket. From where do you have this?" "Oh, Uncle Young." Of course, no matter how much he swore to them that the car came from private money, no one believed him at all. And Baek told him, "From now on, you are on a path and we are on a path," because he doubted his integrity already. And this was the worst thing a judge could reach. But Young refused the two words Baek said and told him that he would visit him once again. He left him and went to Tishol and asked him to take down Park in his position to make him the Chief Justice, and promised him that he would be on their side in the end. And of course he did that because he promised Sun that he would make the Henan office hers alone, away from her siblings, meaning. And this was the same promise he promised her sister, if you remember. After that, he took her to invite her to eat and treated her like princesses and prepared the food for her. We were only missing a little, like that, for him to feed her in her mouth. Of course, she was flying from happiness, because from the beginning he hated her, and suddenly like that, he drowned her in attention, meaning honestly toxic. This is my taste, not my taste, meaning this is what is on us. Anyway, after that he left her and went to meet Yoon, whom he bade, asked to publish an article for him, especially after she knew his father's tragedies. But she refused because she felt that he was playing her and hiding something behind him. She said to him, "What judge is this who seeks to take down people from their positions because of injustice his father was exposed to in the past?" He said to her, "I want to put everyone in their place. They were right, and no one will help me in this except you." After that, he went to Baek and asked him to nominate himself to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court instead of Huang being in this position. He said to him, No, of course, after the corruption of his children who were exposed, it is impossible they nominate the president, basically. He said to him, "No, he is cooking it up with the president, and you, my love, are sleeping on your ears." After that came to Baek. A call came from Tishol asking him to meet and join his law firm. He said to him, "Are Ohm and Young not enough for you? You want me? What will you do with me after that?" He said to him, "You are the blessing and the new candidate for the Chief Justice position too." At this time, Young was with Jin. She told him that she became a public prosecutor specifically just to imprison Tae. He said to her, "Nice. You arrest him and imprison him, and I will sentence him to death and we get rid of him," meaning a team than which nothing is more wonderful. And the most important person we must get rid of is Shin to clear the playground. I personally started to worry about this Young. After that, he took her to their scrapyard. When she saw it, she remembered that in the past, she was was with her father, who was harmed by Company S2, and she saw Young in the court on the day of the ruling issuance against his father and decided to help him when she confirmed that they were in the same boat. After that, he left her and went to Park and told him that the man who wanted to finish him off had a very heavy hand. He said to him, "Are you coming to joke with me or what? I am actually upset. No matter what you do, I will not utter a word." Then Young spoke and said to him that he recruited Jin to him so they could take down Shin, and they wanted him to help them too, and he agreed with him that they would go. Do a trick like that on Judge Lee, who was broke because he handed all his money to his wife to spend on their daughter's education. Lee met Park there and invited him for coffee. While getting the cups, Lee saw his phone and found that Jin was ringing him a lot, and he ignored her. When he asked him about her, he told him this was a prosecutor training under my hand, and from the day she took my number, she has been disgusting me. He said to him, "She looks like she admires you, my friend." He said, "I wish, but the subject is not like that at all." The whole story is that there are some foreign scammers in the field of cryptocurrencies, and she wants to invest her money with them, but they do not scam her because she puts money and returns to withdraw it before they run away with it, and thus she takes a 10% return on the month. At that time, the subject shone in his eyes, and he wanted to get up and put his money right now with these scammers. He left Park and walked away. He called Young and said to him, "Here, I threw the dialogue at him, and he liked it. Do not stuff me in these scammers' moves again." They prepared a special place to perform this play in it, and very many people attended it, so it would appear safe and normal for him to put his money with them. And he was reassured more when he saw Sun present, because she was very famous and came to put her money here too. No, this meant it was very safe like that. He went and invested 100 million won as a trial at the beginning, so if he lost, it would be acceptable. Then they returned to him a 10% profit on them to make him greedier. By the way, these are forbidden profits. Stop it now. The important thing is, on the other hand, he had gone and invested 400 million won in the stock market, and after that they suspended his stock, and he found himself broke. He did not have money to pay his daughter's study expenses. His wife called specifically to tell him that the dollar price was cheap now, and it was better that he transfer money to her before it increased. He said to her, "It will not make a difference. Do not be rushed for money like that, and leave me now because I am working." He hung up with her while not knowing what to do. Someone from the company called him, in which he invested his money, informing him that the return came very early this month, and they returned to him 10% of his profits. So he actually got greedy and said, meaning if I put a larger amount with them, every month 10% of it will return to me, covering the loss of these 400 million won. Of course, we all know what the end of this brain work is. He would wear the bracelets and we would all gloat at him. After that, he took himself and went to Park and asked him to invest money for him in the company of cryptocurrencies. When Park refused, he told him that he would not mention him in anything even if he lost all his money. He invested 300 million won with them at that time, but unfortunately, the matter was exposed. Jin went with her boss, who told her that he would make a raid on this company. She tried to reach Young so he would know that they would be caught and go to hell, but stupidity rode him, and it took him forever to understand. So he went down, took his car, and went to block them so they would be late, meaning for their arrival to this scam company. They made an accident and crashed into each other. Jin pretended she was getting out to yell at him and say to him, "Did you learn racing from PUBG or what? Your day is not passing today. Are you okay, Young, or what?" Thank God. The important thing is that they continued fighting normally, so they would be delayed more. After that, they went to the company and Jin went up with her boss. Suk came down, who was acting as the company president, after he finished the deal with him and took everything he had already. When he knew the news that the company turned out to be a scam, his heart was going to stop. He returned again to the company headquarters and did not find anything more than the chairs. He kept sitting with Park, consoling him. It turned out every step happening was from Young's arrangement, and he was the one who let Jin's boss know about the scam company they made. After that, they wrapped things up and went to celebrate together, Young, Suk, Jin, and Park, and agreed how they would distribute the money. After that, Yoon joined them too, and almost the five of them became an invincible team. Sun was standing from afar watching them, not understanding what brought this mix together. She walked away while being very sad because Young had tricked her and told her that he had a business dinner with his colleagues, and she found him enjoying his time without her. At this time, Huang was with Shin, saying to him, "What will we do about the subject that I want to become the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court?" He said to him, "Put a summer watermelon in your stomach, relax completely, and do not search behind me." And of course, if the circus was exposed, he would never be the Chief Justice or anything at all. After that, he walked and Lee entered to complain to Shin about the scam that happened to him and told him about the company that robbed him. So he grabbed him to beat him up and said to him, "And when you report it and they ask you about the 300 million, one that you lost, where did you get them from? What will you say, you stupid?" He promised him that he would return all his money to him, and until he did that, he did not want to see his face. face. At this time, Young went to satisfy Huang and confronted him with the crime he committed against his father in the past and brought him a record of the bribes at that time. He extended his hand and his leg on him too and said to him, "You cooperated with Tae, a poor man who did nothing, because he was demanding his right, and you sentenced him to prison for 18 months. And this ruling of yours stole their father and husband from a family." He said to him, "No, do not tell me you are his son. This would be a very old move, really." He said to him, "Yes, I am his son, and now you are looking for me to apologize to me? And even if you apologize to me 100 times, what difference would it make to me?" He said to him, "Meaning all you are striving for is to take your revenge on me and my son? Okay, even if I become the Chief Justice and get him out too, leave these dialogues and focus on your future. I will put you in a completely different place and keep my eye on you so you rise more and more." He said to him, "I do not want anything from you, nor am I waiting for it. I want you to take off this robe of virtue and leave the work completely, or else I will finish you off myself." He left him and walked while thinking whether my mood could help after the future or not. He took himself and went to meet Shin and gave him a flash drive he had taken from Huang to hand it to him. Shin asked him if he had seen what was inside the flash drive. He said to him, "Of course I will not open something that is not mine, and if curiosity took me, I would ask you about what is in it without seeing it even." He said to him, "Good boy, because this flash drive has high technologies, and if you had opened it, it would have left a trace with me, and I would have known." And this flash drive turned out to be black disasters and illegal donations in the name of the former president, too. And of course, the idea that he did not open it was not cleverness from him. He had taken Yoon's opinion first, and she told him that if he opened it, it would be a big mess because of it. Then he returned home and found his father alone in the house and sat talking to him. He told him that he was present on the day of the demonstrations and saw him being beaten and ran and left him. But since that day, his conscience was pricking him and he did not know how to look in his face. He said to him, "Well, on that day I saw you and knew you were there. Keep anything upsetting you inside you. Whenever anyone asks you what is wrong, tell him fine, maitehan, until you become fine one day actually. All your words are wisdom, Hajj." Anyway, after that, the Hajj got up to sleep and his wife woke up from his voice. He said to her, "Do you remember the little girl who came and gave us an envelope in the past and said that her father was not an unjust man? And when we opened the envelope, we found her writing in it, 'I am the daughter of the man who accused you of assault, and I know that you are innocent, and that her father does not know about this?' She said to him, 'Yes, I remember her. All that upsets me is that I let her leave without food at that time.'" And of course, Haja is living in afternoon dreams, not understanding what is going on. At this time, Jin went to check on her father, who was in the hospital, and did not find him in his bed. She discovered that they moved him without her permission, so she fought with them and told them she would sue them. They moved him to the VIP room. At this time, Tae offered her to move him to a VIP room and cover all his treatment and needs at his expense without her paying a pound, just so she would get off his back a little. But she refused and said to him, "Are you befriending me or what? I am the daughter of a sick man and I want to treat him." On the other hand, Baek tried to reconcile with Young and summoned him to ask him about this car that was driving them crazy, where he got it from. He told him about its source. He said to him, "Oh man, why didn't you say so earlier? You made my heart drop. I thought you were bribed or something." Baek asked him why he wanted him to be the Chief Justice. He told him that he wanted to take down Shin and needed someone to be at his back and support him. Of course, he would not find anyone better than Baek. He showed him pictures of the man supporting Shin and let him know that the Tsurpi, too, was the former chief of the court, and a heavy man too, even if former. After that, he agreed with Shin that he would acquit Huang of all charges attributed to him after he hid his son with Suk and made it look like he ended his life, meaning by himself. And this would be the tax for Young's entry into Shin's world, so he could take him down, that he rule an unjust ruling once again and acquit someone not honorable. But what happened was that on the trial day, they could not reach Huang, basically, so he did not rule anything at all. He took himself and went to Suk, who was hiding Huang's son at his place and was preserving his life, because what he knew was that in his previous life, they insisted on finishing him off to gain people's sympathy towards Huang, so he would become the Chief Justice. And in exchange for preserving his life like this, his father would submit his resignation and get out of it complete. But unfortunately, after he resigned, people started searching behind him and discovered that he had employed his son through nepotism, while he had neither certificates nor anything, and he would be subjected to trial. And the one who would judge him was also Young, and so the ball was thrown into his court, and thus also he proved loyalty to Shin, who took him to introduce him to the rest of the gang. And he saw money being thrown in front of him like rice from every different interest, those from boxes of intelligence, and those from the funds of the prosecution and Ministry of Defense activities. And they were all sitting happy while he was shocked, not understanding. All this money was stolen from the pockets of the poor people, and they were sitting here eating it hot. He could not stand himself and got shortness of breath and decided to dip his head in the sink for a while blaming himself that he was now upset about the path he decided to enter by his own mood in his previous life, and he went back to them again. He found the Minister of Lands entering the meeting and distributing houses and lands to them, and the kilo for £5, very cheap. And after this commotion ended, Shin went with Young to meet Sok-jae, the head of all this evil, and tried to prove his loyalty to him too, but Hwang had preceded him and warned him about him and told him, "This Young, count your fingers after you shake his hand. More cunning than a viper. He doesn't have an atom of mercy, and when Shin introduces you to him one day, take your caution from him." And after they finished their meeting with Sok-jae, they went to have lunch in a place together. Shin told him that he wanted him at his back as a person he could trust without being worried, and that their concept of justice was one. The next day, he was in his office and received a call from Lee telling him, "Your day is not passing. I exposed your corruption." He had gone and brought a record of calls between him and Park throughout the period he was scammed in, and knew that there were very many calls between them, and surely they agreed with each other. He went and told Park all this. They became worried that they would be exposed because of a trivial thing like this. They agreed that they would bring him to the Heenan office behind Tishol's back and pay him part of his money to buy his silence. He refused to take this amount and asked for a number multiples of what he paid, basically. Then Sun got angry at him and said to him, "Do you think we are sitting on a bank for you or what?" Young said to her, "Seek refuge in Allah. Calm down. Just." He told Lee about an account number he would transfer money to, and it turned out to be the account of his daughter who lived abroad. They grabbed each other until Tishol entered saying to him, "You are threatening my daughter and her fiancé? Okay, take these papers detailing the bribes throughout the past years." And it was like, "Ha, I embarrassed you," and he was forced to go back on all his threats. On this happy occasion, Young took Sun and went to introduce her to his family, and they had lunch together. On their way while going home, Sun asked him what she was to him. Then he remembered her false testimony against him in his previous life and did not reply to her. She said to him, "You do not have to talk much. I, anyway, do not care about anyone's opinion." She rode a taxi and left while telling him that his mother's food was very good. The next day, a file regarding Company S loans was sent to Jin. She verified its authenticity and knew it was not forged and informed Young about it. He remembered then that in his previous life, the investigations were transferred in Tae's case to illegal loans for a garbage fund, and he resigned from here, and the cycle returned again to garbage funds normally. Jin went to investigate Tae. When she mentioned these garbage funds, he was shocked and did not know where she knew from. From his shock, Jin confirmed that all the talk that reached her was actually true and no one tricked her. After that, Tae went on air and confessed to the illegal loans he was taking from John Savings Bank. Above all this, he hid 500 billion won in a secret fund in the bank under pseudonyms. In Young's previous life, the judge issued a suspended sentence and said that all that was said about the funds and loans were rumors. But this time, Young was awake to them very well, and no suspended sentence would happen. Then Shin fished in troubled waters and went to let Tae's father know to abandon his son's fund and the money in it to win his company's reputation. He convinced him that Tae would take a suspended sentence, and the world was easy and simple, especially since Young, our judge, was the one who would rule. Of course, he did not notice that their judge was the one who would send them behind the sun himself. Indeed, he believed him until he asked him for the price of this ruling, 100 billion won. This was on top of what he lost, basically. The man was filled with rage and could not stand himself. He went to vent his anger on his son and told him that he must exploit this fall and start over again because the prosecution would suspend you for your work, and there was a big probability you would be imprisoned. He left him and walked while he was getting angry and saying, "All from the scum Jin." It was necessary in the past to finish her off, she and her father. We knew that Jin's father was working for him, and he remembered him normally, meaning he did not forget him. He remembered then all he did to him when he grabbed him to beat him and break his bones, just to entertain himself while he was bored. And now he was taking the penalty for his actions from Jin and what he did to her father, and left him bedridden for years. Young was with his colleagues agreeing how they would take down this whole network. Tae and his father, the corruption system linked to each other like this. He told them that the head of corruption basically was the former president, and he was the one strengthening their hearts like this. They were all shocked. Suk said to him, "Ha man, I had elected him before. Oh well, it's fine." After that, Young went down with Jin and told her, "You are running after Tae because of what he did to your father in the past, right?" She said to him, "Are you searching behind me or what?" He gave her a file and told her that he knew by chance. This file was written in the handwriting of Jin's father and recounts Tae's crimes with him before he entered a full coma, and that when he filed a lawsuit against him, he was sentenced to a fine, but he asked him to return when his bones healed and that he would forgive him for this case normally and leave him to earn a living in his company. A generous man, by God, from a generous family. Jin started to tell him that every time her father returned, beaten with a beating, he used to take her to have dinner out and give her her allowance, and and confirmed to her to live a normal life like all people, although he himself was not living the normal life he spoke of, and she wished to escape and leave him because she was ashamed of what he was doing to himself and enduring. But before she escaped, he had collapsed and his body was no longer able to endure all this, and she discovered that she did not want to escape from her dad. She wanted to escape from his helplessness and his love for her more than himself, to the degree that he endured all this harm for her sake. Then Young promised her that no one would be harmed again because of Tai ever, and that he would send him to hell. After that, the Sunjin Foundation appeared to us all at once, which gathered donations and distributed them to the needy, and its advertisements were everywhere, and people donated to it from every place, to the degree that a poor man, basically, meaning charity was permissible for him, donated all he owned to them just to appear on TV with them. And their wretched neighbor, who made Young's mother allocate for her a part of her monthly salary to this association to have a share in the good deeds and so on. And when Young's mother wanted to confirm the matter to donate too, she asked her son, who else would she ask, meaning, so he said to her, "No, do not donate, mother. I donate to another place." This was because in his previous life, the director of this organization was arrested on charges of embezzlement, and he did not want her to spend for nothing either. After that, he went to meet his team and noticed that someone was eavesdropping on them. When he looked who, he found him fleeing. After that, Park went to drop Jin off and remained staying overnight under her house in the car because he was worried Tae might send someone to finish her off. And when she went down to him the next day, she found that he looked very tired from sleeping in the street, so she asked him not to come again and ruin himself. And she took a gift from him like that as a morning gesture. She went to ride her car, and a man attacked her in the garage and wanted to end her life. At this time, Young was going to meet the father since he was the judge who would rule on his son. He offered him a Visa card where the amount he dreamed of would be put in exchange for sentencing Tae to 5 years only. He said to him, "Oh, am I stupid then? And when you appeal for him, the penalty goes down to 3 years prison with suspended execution? No, my love. Keep this visa for yourself because it has tracking, and give me cash money after the verdict pronouncement." He took himself and ran to Shin to tell him what happened. He said to him, "Very old and local methods and memorized rulings. I want you to sentence him to 5 years as he told you, and all as usual." After that, he went to meet Sun, and she wanted to impose on him to sentence Tai to a specific number of years to satisfy the Henan office. He refused and stuck to his ruling, which was 5 years, and kept telling her about his old life and that he was running all the time without knowing where to go, until a small child asked him why he was running at his maximum speed, and he did not know how to answer him, nor did he have an answer for himself, even to satisfy him. But now he discovered that he wanted to move his family to a completely different place. And in his life, the previous one, it did not work out with him, and we ask God for facilitation in his life now. And at this time, Yoon had entered the Sunjin organization and stole forged files from the computers inside it and sent them to Young, and he sent them to Park, who tried to move a case, but his manager reprimanded him and refused finally. Even Yoon tried to make a press scoop with them. The newspaper owner refused to do so. It was as if this organization had immunity. Shin asked to meet Park to prevent him from what he was doing, because like this he would open a gate of trouble on himself that has no beginning or end. So they decided to play from under the table and brought out the people who donated to be the ones speaking and demanding their rights. It was a masterstroke, honestly, from Young, and the subject became a public opinion case against the will of the big shots, and a search warrant was issued for the place, and the playground caught fire. And all these dialogues reached Sogjae, and he spoke to Shin and scolded him. After that, he asked his fortune teller to tell him if Young was of the traitorous type or not. She said to him, "No, despite all this one does not betray, ever." Yoon was still searching behind the organization to reach the names of the people who donated to it, and discovered that they were putting the donations under names of people whose lives ended basically to pour into their pockets. She went and met Young to tell him what was happening. At this time, they had issued an arrest warrant for Seok-jae. Shin took his place in the meetings and acted as the minister of evil in Korea. As for Jin, whose life was going to end a little while ago, the one who went to save her was Young, because he remembered that Tae told her that this was her last chance with him. He went to check on her specifically, and his suspicion was in place. The rest came behind him. The team to check on Jin, and Park treated her for the wound made in her neck, and she met him the next day in court, and he said, "May your house be destroyed." Damn you, are you a bat or what? Nothing ends your life at all, meaning. The trial started, and Jin said, the accused took illegal loans worth 120 billion won through shell companies. And they had a witness too, who was the CEO of Company S. He recorded a video himself and confessed to Tae's crimes, all of them from A to Z, and add to them call recordings of Tae asking a thug to end Jin's life, meaning the charge fit him perfect. Then Jin asked the judge to sentence him to 20 years in prison and a fine of 20 billion won and confiscation of his assets worth 170 billion won. one. And above all this, she would pin on him the crime of attempted murder for her, meaning. Then he kept jumping up and down from what was happening and saying that Jin was falsely accusing. After that, Young issued a ruling exactly as Jin said, 20 years in prison, a financial fine, and confiscation of his properties. Jin rejoiced at the ruling very much and felt that her right and her dad's right returned and there was still justice in the world. She went after that to make her father, who was in a complete coma, happy. And since then, she went wild on all the corrupt ones and arrested them, and no one knew how. To say to her, 1/3 of 3 is how much? Question her, because she was right. In the middle of all this, Shin was able to get Seok-jae out of prison and return him again to their evil group, which included Young in secret like that. After that, Young suggested that they bring Park into this night so he would also be at his back, and Shin agreed, although his assistant Shin was rejecting the idea completely because he was afraid Park would cause them problems and threatened Young, but he told him that matters would be under control with them. After that, the assistant went to his office and found photos of Young and Suk defending Jin from the man sent to her to finish her off, and he was surprised that Young had a relationship with Jin basically, and who was this huge man with 2 floors, very tall also. After what happened, Jin was transferred to a branch in another town called Haim as a disciplinary action for what she did with Tae, and Park was transferred with her too. There she found work on her head like rice, but all of it was trivial things, like a woman reporting the theft of her cabbage from the field, and the neighbor who reported his neighbor because his goat broke his door, and dialogues like that as if we were in a school. When Jin saw this, she was going to have a stroke from what she was hearing, and her pressure went high. At this time, Shin was visiting Seok-jae in prison after he returned him again on charges of stealing Greenbelt lands, and he promised him that he would return him again soon to their team. After that, he took himself and went to visit the most important member in the team named Moon. He entered a coma, and if he woke up from it, he would return to be the boss of them all, and before. Seok-jae too. The doctor supervising him was accused of medical negligence and had lawsuits still not judged. So Shin asked her to finish off Moon, and he would get her acquitted of all charges against her. Indeed, she said to him, "My eyes for you, Pasha, I will do it." At the time, she was injecting him with the solution that would finish him off. He woke up instantly and finished her off, her and the guard, and fled too. When Young knew what happened, he went to meet Park and told him that he asked Shin to enter the villain's team and let him know that Moon escaped and took the shock. At this time, Moon was basically sitting in a restaurant waiting for Shin to come because he came every year to this restaurant for the birthday of the place owner. As soon as he entered and Shin saw him, he believed it, so he acted like his assistant, a sycophant meaning, and entered to talk to him and said to him, "What is your news? And thank God for your safety." He went and finished him off. "Are you still going to chatter with us? We are done." He kept staring blankly at Shin, who told him, "Done. Interrupt me too and live like a fugitive for the rest of your life. You were thrown in the hospital and not waking up while people kept pointing at you and saying the criminal is here." Then Moon remembered that he was the one who picked him up from the streets and made a clean criminal out of him who did not enter courtrooms. So he apologized to him, and Shin accepted his apology and assigned him a mission to finish off Seok-jae. After that, he went to Seok-jae's reception party again in the middle of the evil team. When he entered his office, Moon was there and finished him off. His fortune teller saw them and distracted Moon's attention. So Seok-jae slipped away from him like that and gave him a second shot, ending his life. And he tried to escape and met Young on his way and said to him, "Ah, so you are the reason then. Hwang warned me about you, and I didn't listen to his words, but I didn't trust you from the start," meaning, he said to him, "Well, did Hwang not warn you that he handed all your weak points to Shin? And when he was the head of elections, he gathered all the political funding records, illegal for former and current presidents, and your name was among them? And now, if you cooperate with me, the whole evil team will be arrested, and you will sit forming the new government on your mood." Then Park arrived and told him that the public prosecutor assigned to your case. But Seok-jae could not believe himself and kept laughing hysterically, and there was nothing in front of him except to agree and go with Park. At this time, the whole evil team was shaken and afraid of Seok-jae after they knew he disappeared, and their plan they agreed upon with Shin failed. Then they decided to abandon him because he was the one who dug into the subject to become the team leader alone. But he of course held dirt on everyone in the team, so that if anyone said a word to him, he would reply to him with 10. After that, he clashed with one of the team and forcefully went breaking a bottle and stabbing it in his neck and finished him off by mistake. He remained shocked and sitting in his place. Young entered on him and was surprised by the corpses thrown everywhere. Shin said to him, "Come here, you too. Your day is not passing." He showed him all the photos taken of him while saving Jin and said to him, "Then you are surely the one who saved Tai too. Although I told you on the day I become the team leader, I will keep you by my side. And your goal from the beginning was me," Young said. "Evil will never be justice. If you controlled everything, the country will suffer from a crisis of a narrow and twisted version of justice. He said to him, "I thought you would understand, or I brought you close to me, but it is clear that there is no trick in hand." Helpless, he tried to finish him off, but our son Young was very awake and grabbed him, but Shin hit him with a bottle in his neck. He fell and could not move, and the strip of his life passed before his eyes from the days when he was a student in high school, and his dream was to be a great judge. Young woke up finding himself in the hospital, and the wounds stitched and still existing in his new life. This man acts like cats. Anyway, every time something happens to him, he descends a new life. Sun came to visit him and tell him, "I was afraid for you, I thought. Your life ended," meaning she apologized to him for the first day they met and the Saidi slap she slammed him with. She treated his wound and took the cotton that had his blood on it and reported him. But he was smarter than her and knew what she did and escaped quickly from the hospital before. He was arrested. The cotton with his blood on it, she took it to put some of it on the victims whose lives ended yesterday and frame Young that he was the one who did that. At this time, Young called Chief Bach and told him everything that happened. He advised him to surrender himself quickly now, so he would deal with the rest. But Young refused and told him that he wanted to act himself. The news reached Tishol, who was hiding Shin at his place. He knew that Young escaped, so he took money from him and fled too. Sun was sitting regretting what she did to Young and listening to the news on the radio, broadcasting that Young was the main suspect in these crimes that happened. Regret was riding her from her head to her toe, and she kept crying. On the other side, Jin was sitting with her boss at the center chatting with each other and saw the news on TV and knew that Young was in a big mess. Shin called Young and said to him, "Come meet me now. Meet the police if you want to clear yourself from the charges that framed you." But he said, No, thank you. I am the one who started this, so I finish it to the end as long as I am still alive. He went to hide in an abandoned restaurant with the help of Suk, who brought him clothes, food, and money, and changed his wound dressing while he was saying to himself, "I will not allow you to finish me off twice, Shin." After that, Jin came to visit him, and he told her everything that happened from the day she left. At this time, she had gone to Young's mother to reassure her about her son and tell her that he was fine and never to believe what was said about him. After that, she went to check on him herself. She found the whole team there, and they sat agreeing how they would act. Shin also gathered the evil team again and made himself a leader over them, and they were like penguins clapping for him just to finish and have lunch. And that's it. At this time, Jin and Young were trying to watch Shin to reach anything. The police saw them, and when they stopped the car, they switched their places, and she pretended, meaning, "I arrested him, and I am a policewoman and stuff." After that, Shin was in prison disguised and visiting Sog-jae and promising him that he would get him out and return him to the team again. He said to him, "Old news, my friend. You tried to finish me off. How do you want me to believe you just?" As soon as he left, Sog-jae called Young and told him that Shin visited him and told him that he had secret information about the new elected president and offered him to return him to the team. After that, we found that Shin was not satisfied with this. No, he went to visit Park too, who thought he was coming to greet him. But on the contrary, he came to invite him to lunch and tell him that the whole evil team confessed against Young that they were witnesses to his crime. Shin sent poisoned food in prison to Seok-jae and finished him off. Here is the end of Gluttony, oh uncle. At this time, Young went and took 2 words from the nurse girl, whom Shin agreed with to finish off Moon while she was in the coma. They put him on a stage and published all his disasters on radio and television and proved that the secret accounts having embezzlements were in Shin's name in the end, and that he took huge bribes to rule in favor of people in court. After that, Young went to meet Park, who was searching in Sog-jae's room after his death and found a paper like that in a book. When Young saw it, he went to search maybe he would reach something, and indeed he found a flash drive on it containing records of political money transactions. And this file was the reason for Seok-jae's authority over the evil team members, and they listened to his words literally because of it. He saw that if one person whose name was mentioned here was arrested, Shin would lose all his power too. Indeed, Park and his colleagues started arresting them one after the other. Even Kim, who was hiding. 2 papers for him to secure himself with because he was threatening his life. Park arrested him, and Tishol worried about his daughter very much, so he sent her abroad. When he opened the news, he found that people already saw that the judicial system in Korea was collapsing because of the corrupt judges. Young was with Baek, who told him that he was proud of him because he decided not to be a corrupt judge, although everything was available before him, and he could have built a new evil team alone. But he chose not to do that. Of course, he did not know the full story, and he also bluffed him. He told him that he would suffice with taking down all the corrupt people and would try Shin himself. We knew that before Sun traveled, she met Jin and confessed to her that she stole gauze wet with Young's blood to frame him in cases. She went and told Young, who was sure that she would not do that by herself. Shin must have asked Tishol to make her act like this a little. When Jin asked him, "Why are you so sure sure of her. He said to her, "She was my wife in my previous life. I am joking. Do not look at me like that." Young was sure also that Shin had no solutions before him except to flee outside the country and hide his disasters. There was no way to escape except by boat, because if he approached any airport, he would be searched and caught in a split second. He called Suk to watch for him all the convoys that were traveling outside the country. He went to watch him himself, and he was having lunch in the restaurant of the lady who raised him. But when he tried to follow him with the car, this lady prevented him and stood in front of him, but she could not prevent him strongly. He kept behind him until the port, which was swarming with his men, and they kept hitting each other until Suk arrived and ended this mess with 2 hits. Jin and Park arrived and arrested them all. Then Park went and arrested Tishol as well. Come on, let the country get clean. And Young was acquitted of the charges attributed to him by Sun's confession that she stole the cotton to frame him for a crime. He returned again to his position to prepare for Shin's trial himself, while thinking if this was the end of his life, so his own trial would start. Then he entered the courtroom and Jin started, stating the punishment she wanted to achieve for Shin based on his crimes, from taking lives to hiding evidence, bribing witnesses, to exploiting his authority. Something disgusting, honestly. She demanded the penalty of death for him. At that time, the trial was being filmed live and the whole world was watching him. Shin's response to the punishment was that he stood up before the cameras seeking people's sympathy and asking them where justice in Korea was. "I am wrong and I confess to my mistake, and I went down to the mud and dirtied my hands myself to save people and the justice system that was rotting to the core. I sacrificed myself for change. If it were not for Young's interference in my life, I would have risen with justice in all of Korea, and you would be clapping for me now, okay?" Young said to him, "Your renaissance that you talk about was full of epidemics and famines. I am coming to you from a previous life, and I know what is in it. You forged the evidence and ended the lives of witnesses and took bribes in the court to determine who was guilty and who was innocent. No one agreed with you on everything you are doing." He said to him, "There is no justice without sacrifices. And if there is, justice will never improve, and we need a new one then." Young's response to him was that the people who thought they could achieve justice on their own terms were just dictators. The word hit a nerve with Shin, so he said to him, "No," and he made a scene thinking himself Superman. Young said to him, "Justice is not an exceptional thing, and because of that, as a normal human who feels like people, now I will apply the court ruling on you, which is death." Shin kept shouting and saying to him, "My only mistake is that I trusted you and allowed you to help me to build a new justice. Until now, the only thing missing was the disk drive that Seokjae left for Shin, and he refused to hand it over and played dumb." Then, Baek said, "He still has the guts to hold on to his evil dream to the end." After that, Young took his colleague Jin and introduced her to his family, who welcomed her very much and thought they were dating, instead of Sun, who had traveled abroad and applied to law school to become a lawyer too. Young was happy with her that she took a right path in her life for the first time. He did not know. Then what next? We arrested all the villains and finished what we had to do in this life. What will we do again? He said, "I will go sleep then." When he reached his house, he found his friends throwing a small celebration, so he went to celebrate with them, and they were happy with eliminating evil finally. Our series ended. I will see you in another series. Goodbye.